What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Strength from Above podcast. We are back after being MIA for a little bit. One of our team members decided to get married. Congratulations to you, Ricky. You want some mic time, Ricky?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Congratulations to you and Melissa, Ricky. I'm happy for you both, and I'm also happy because we have a familiar face coming on today. Somebody's going to help me do this podcast adventure that we got going on. Somebody's going to help me talk about God's second promise. But first, let me introduce to you to the wonderful Allie Nux.
Hi. I don't know what else to say, but it feels good to be back.
How you like being back? You like the fact that you're back with me?
Yeah.
If you don't know, for the new followers and stuff like that, if you don't know, Allie Nux she is my daughter. I'm going to stop saying she's like my daughter, and I'm going to say she is my daughter. Jellybean isn't the only kid I have. I adopted this one when she was like 14 or 15 and a half. You know, the wonderful years.
The wonderful teenage
The wonderful years to deal with a child. But yeah, I'm very excited for you to be here with me. I'm very excited that you decided to work with me once again. I know we've had our back and forth, but we're going to be all right.
You'll be all right. Yeah.
So, God's promises, part 2. What do you think about God's promises? Where do you stand on God's promises? Or what are God's promises for you?
God promises. Wow, that's a really difficult question. There's so many of God promises that I see in my life. Especially right now, I feel like I just have to trust in God, no matter what. At the end of the day, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm just holding on.
Is some of this like you're trusting God and working with me again?
Yeah. Every aspect of my life,
Okay.
it's like that.
Okay, that's
with
fair.
School, with scholarships, with anything. I'm like, if it happens, it happens.
Oh man, school. Yeah, if
Oh gosh.
you know, like what you're transferring schools, right?
Yes, I'm transferring to UMD now.
UMD.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's a big boy school.
UMD. All right. So yeah, that's basically what God's promises is, and you know, just trusting in every aspect of life. Last episode, I believe we talked about I will rescue you from slavery in Egypt, and I want to go into what that is. You know the story of the slavery in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard from episode 1 when you're talking about freedom from oppression.
Freedom from oppression. So freedom from oppression. You know what freedom from oppression is? That is deliverance. Deliverance. And I want to focus a lot on deliverance today. So freedom from oppression is actually deliverance. But what are we being delivered from? What are we being delivered from? And why? Like, what are we being rescued from? What are we being set free from? Like, I feel like many of us have that question. Technical difficulties. I think that's the devil.
You have to be delivered from that.
That's the devil right there trying to mess up our podcast. All right, so so what do you think? What do you think you're being delivered from? Like from your constant struggles, your daily struggles, your self-doubt. Like, what is it that we are being delivered from? So in Egypt, they were being delivered from slavery. You know, they were being delivered from slavery, from being held captive and just working for like over 400 years. But that's that time, you know, because a lot of people also, when I refer to this story, a lot of people say, you know, that's the Old Testament. That has nothing to do with us, you know. It has nothing to do with us. And I think I mentioned it the last episode. I said, God still wants to help people. He's still in the job of helping people, in the business of helping people, of delivering people, of saving people, and, you know, just healing. So what do you think the slavery of the human, or as the young person nowadays, especially somebody like you that goes to school, that, you know, you're dealing with all these things that your whole life you've been told that it's like not okay to do.
Yeah.
But you're just like, it's the norm in your age group. It's the norm with the people that you hang out with. Like, what are we being delivered from here?
I mean, especially now, I feel like there's a lot of things to be delivered from. There's temptation, sin, depression. I don't know. Now in age, there's a lot of influences in our lives which make it really hard to live normally. Like there's so much influence. There's so much. If you don't do this, if you're not part of this, then you can't be part of this. There's
Ooh, that's a good one. If you're not part of this, then you can't be part of that. Give me an example.
Oh gosh.
Because you're a worship leader.
Yeah.
You're a worship leader. So if you're not part of this, you can't be part of the worship team. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
If you're not part of this, you can't you can't do what you do every Sunday. You can't do what you're passionate about. You can't do what you really want to do every single Sunday morning. If you do this, so I feel like, okay, so when this happens and you're constantly preached about this,
Mhm.
I feel like you tend to hide things because you want to continue doing what you do every Sunday,
Understood.
right?
Yeah.
So tell me something about that.
I don't know what example.
I'm not telling you to put yourself on blast.
I understand, but I mean, I don't know an example off the top of my head.
Like, I don't know.
I guess concerts now.
Right.
Is that an example?
Right.
Like, I don't like posting about them because a lot of people are like, well, if you go out and listen to this music, then how are you a worship leader? And how are you this and that?
Yes, that's true. That's true. That is very true.
I feel like there has to be a balance, and people just do not understand that there is. People just, like, you're in a concert, you're a devil worshiper, or you're doing this, or you're doing that. Oh my God.
I'm just gonna hold it, dude. I'm gonna hold it. This mic doesn't want to.
Technical.
This mic doesn't want to stay still, and I'm not gonna let it disrupt our episode anymore.
Holding it.
So I'm definitely holding it.
Caressing it.
So, all right. So let's get back to this. Let's get back to the that is very important fact. You are right about that. You do things that you like to do. You're young, and you should live your life. You should live your life, but there's always going to be somebody that has something to say about it.
Yes.
And I think that you and I know a lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but let's talk about how we need to be free from thoughts that go in our minds like that. Like, why can't it be, you know what, I'm going to post this and, this is what I like to do, but I love worshiping God. And just because I like doing this doesn't mean that God won't take my worship.
Understand.
How do you like that one?
I mean, I do.
Like, these are things that people don't tell us. Yeah. These are things that people don't tell us. Like, we feel like we have to hide things. We feel like we have to not be ourselves. And yes, God, I'm probably going to get chewed up for this one, but God says, come to me as you are, right? Mm-hmm. Now, yes, I like to do things. I have struggles. You have struggles. I'm pretty sure Ricky has struggles. Everybody, every major pastor out there, every major leader in our church has struggles. But we don't put them out there. Why? Oh, because we're not allowed to go through those struggles. Mm-hmm. We can't go through those struggles. We have God on our side. We have God's promises on our side. We're not allowed to go through those struggles. And we especially can't be public about those struggles. Right? So it puts us in a bind. It does. It puts us in a bind. It puts us we're hiding things, and because we're hiding things, we feel guilty. We feel guilty. We feel like everybody's looking at us. But why is that happening? Why do we have to hide what we do? And why can't we feel free to worship God, to be a leader in the church, to be somebody? Why can't we feel free to just, is God not going to accept my worship? Is God not going to use me as an instrument anymore?
I mean, the issue I see is that people will now have that image of you and not allow you to like, how I lead worship. I feel like yes. if they kind of see the things that I do, I guess, that they don't like, I feel like they won't accept me anymore because as a worship leader, I'm leading people into worship. I don't know if they would accept what I'm trying to lay down in the atmosphere and all the things that come with worship. I feel like they put that image of me and they're like, I can't accept this worship because it's not.
Can't accept the worship because I see how this person lives.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a personal problem with that.
How?
Well, you can't accept the worship of this person because you see how this person lives. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Does the person that's judging the person ever see or analyze the way that they live? I just said that we all have our struggles.
Yeah.
We all have our struggles. Nobody's human. And I feel like we put our leaders in such a pedestal that they can't make mistakes.
Yep.
And that's wrong. That is wrong. Because nobody can be held up to that standard. So, the second promise, deliverance. It stands for the quality of life we live here on earth. Holding on to this promise means realizing that you know that God has saved and forgiven you for everything and will continue to do so. What do you think about that? But often our habits, our attitudes, and sin linger. And for most of us, we're still haunted by the memories and pain from the past. So this can go with that. We're hiding the fact that we're going to concerts. We're hiding the fact that we like secular music. We're hiding the fact that we're liars. We're hiding the fact that we judge people because we judge people. We judge people and people judge us. It's a constant cycle. It's a constant cycle. See, what happened with Egypt, and I love talking about what happened with Egypt. Uh-oh. You're right over there, Ricky?
Dang, I held in the whole time. I'm so
Whoa. People gonna think that we're over here. Ricky does not have the vid.
the vid.
I want to make clear, I choked on water.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So
The promises hit hard.
the promises. All right. So whatever that past may be, whether it's going to a concert, whether it's childhood trauma, whether it's teenage rebellion and adolescent ignorance, or past betrayal leading to having absolutely no trust in people, right? We all go through that. We've been betrayed so many times because we put trust in people, which is, it's okay. Put your trust in people. Like, it's okay. Trust people. But most of the time it's, they don't expect, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. So many things happen in the past. They're hard to forget. And maybe it's time to start healing by letting go and holding on to the promise of deliverance. But how do we do that? You have any idea how you do that? Any idea?
It's a hard concept.
It is a hard concept.
It is.
It was even hard back then. And it continues to be hard. So this is the reason why I use the example of Egypt, because listen to this. When God freed them from Egypt, from the slavery of Egypt, they came out as bosses. Now y'all got me over here. Look, they came out as bosses. They came out as, free, right? Mm-hmm. Because they were freed. Moses led them to freedom. Now, that may be true. But Egypt, never came out of them. So we see that later on down the road, they're like, we're starving. All we're eating is bread and water. Like in Egypt, we used to have this. We used to have that. In Egypt, we used to have meat. In Egypt, we used to have fish for dinner. In Egypt, we used to feast. In Egypt, we used to do everything. Maybe we should go back to Egypt instead of suffering here. I feel like sometimes, most of the times, we're already set free. In our mind, we still have what's in the past.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard. It's hard to let go. That's so hard to let go.
And you and I have had so many conversations about that.
Yeah,
It's
a
so
lot.
hard to let go. It's difficult to let go. It's difficult to
I feel
let
like
go.
it's like your flight or fight. Is it flight or fight? Where it's like, oh, I don't know. For me, it's always on my mind. Like I'm like, is this wrong? Is it like, I'd rather do this. I'd rather do that.
It is. It absolutely is. It's in your. That's the fight that's in your mind. That's the fight that leads you to depression. That's the fight that leads you to have these anxiety attacks, panic attacks. That's the fight that you lose sleep over on. And while we're doing all of this, yeah.
Sorry.
Say that again. Say that
I
again.
said they got hands.
Yeah, it had hands. Your past has hands. But but I love the way you put that. But God's hands are stronger. God's hands are stronger. We're just not letting God's hand work because we're not letting go.
We're still holding on.
Yeah, we're still holding on. We're still holding on when God's like, yo, let go. Let
right
go
here.
and trust me. It's because it feels like, I don't know if it feels like this for you, but sometimes it feels like when we're holding on to something, it feels like you're walking on a balance beam. Like you're just like, you're trying to balance yourself and you're just holding on so for your dear life when God's telling you like, hey, just jump. Just jump. Believe me, jump. You feel like it's like a fall that's gonna like kill
fall.
you, but it's really a step.
On it, bro. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Like I was like, it's like that. It's like you think that it's like way farther than it is, but it's like right there.
When it's actually just a step.
But that's your like overthinking and that battle. I don't know. It just dresses itself up.
Yeah.
It's sweet. Absolutely.
Me at the age of 31. I still go through this. I'm not old. I'm not old. Still a youngster. you know what's funny? You know what's funny about that? That I was talking to some friends that we're in the same. I don't know if you were in that conversation, but we were just like, you know what? The more that I think about it, we are not young adults anymore.
You're not.
We are the we are the guys that are trying to avoid going into the men's ministry and the women's ministry. We're the ones that are still holding on to the we're still holding on to the young adults ministry. We are way beyond young adults now.
That's a good explanation.
You know, Allie Knox is she's a young adult because she's not 25 yet. I feel like that's where it should like stop. Like 25.
25?
Yeah. After 25, like I think you're like, yeah.
Dang.
You need to.
So we're the young people at church.
Well,
We don't know.
we're the only ones. We're still here, alive and kicking. But look, at the end of the day, I can say all these things. I can say all these nice things about, deliverance and stuff. And what I need people to understand is that I'm just a messenger. I'm just a messenger. I don't know it all. Because believe me, many times you've even caught me. I've held on to things that I shouldn't have held on to. We like sometimes I hold on to past arguments that you and I have had. We have that relationship of son and daughter, of daughter and father, and I've held on to those conversations, and I have messed up in many areas in holding on to that. And it happens to the best of us. It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. So all I can say is that I'm a messenger, and I go through the same thing that everybody else goes through.
So how do we accept God's promises? How do we let go?
How do we let go? It really is a roller coaster, isn't it?
Yeah, but how does it work for you? Like, what is an example that you've used?
Well,
or things that you've done to let go?
For example, I'll use my childhood. Mm-hmm. I've been a victim of my childhood trauma for a long time. And I didn't know it. Sometimes we don't know it.
Yeah, we don't.
Sometimes we don't know it. Sometimes we feel like we're free from these things, but in reality, we're secretly holding on. I've been a victim of my childhood trauma for, I would say, 30 years. Because honestly, I haven't really like taken the time to forgive my father, like genuinely. It's and I didn't notice this until I started, until I started writing my book. I started writing about my life, and I didn't realize that I wasn't free from that until this has been the hardest project I have ever taken on, because every sentence, every memory that comes to me, it makes me just bawl in tears. And I'm just like, what is going on with me? I thought I was over this. And you quickly realize that you've been holding on to things without even knowing.
I mean, sometimes like you're blind from it.
Yeah,
You don't
sometimes you're
notice it.
blind from it. Sometimes you're blind from it. And when you realize this, this is a form of communication that God tells you, like, hey, you're okay. Everything you went through, I was there with you. I kept you safe. You got hurt for choices that you made, but I kept you safe. I was always there with you. I protected you. No matter what happened, the whisper, the feeling that you got that you weren't alone, that was me. And I know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The like when you get these feelings, because a lot of us are a slave to this. A lot of us are slaves to our past. A lot of us are slaves to our thoughts. Some get suicidal thoughts. Some get thoughts that, maybe this world is better off without me. Maybe if I'm gone, everybody will be happy. But what people don't know is that there are people that care about you, that are thinking of you, that, that you have been an impact in their lives for so long. And for you to be gone in an instant, it's hard. And sometimes that's God's way of telling you, you need to be in this world. You need to be in this world. You're causing an impact. You cause smiles. You fill holes that people have that need to be filled. And that's the roller coaster that we call life, because we feel like complete garbage sometimes. But holding on to God's promise is saying, you have me here for a reason. If I'm not gone, it's because there's something that you have for me. There's something that you want me to accomplish. There's something that you want me to, there's a message you want me to deliver. There's anything. There's something that you want me to do every Sunday. I fight battles that nobody knows about. But on Sunday, I see the victory every time I get up there and I worship you and I say, how great is my God? Right?
Yeah.
I feel like I hit you deep with that one, Nux.
Yeah. So like thinking, I'm like, dang, like you're right.
It is right. And the thing is, you being a worship leader, people don't understand that struggle. Me being a youth pastor, people don't understand this struggle. You're set on a pedestal. I'm set on another pedestal. You're set on a pedestal that you shouldn't be making any mistakes. I'm set on a pedestal that I shouldn't be making any mistakes. But I'm human. You're human.
Yeah.
We're the ones that go through the struggles the most. And we hold on to God's promises. We hold on. We be like, look, hey, I don't feel like I'm delivered. I don't feel like I'm set free. But God is like, you are. Just keep on going. Keep taking that step.
I'm agreeing.
I left you shook?
Yeah.
So, what the promise of deliverance does is that it closes the door of yesterday once and for all. And I think that's the hardest door that we as humans have to close, the door of yesterday. Like I remember on TikTok I made a video. It said that focusing on yesterday when it's already like over is pointless, and focusing on the future that you haven't reached yet, isn't it better to focus on the now?
Yeah.
Focus on what you have now. Realize that you're still here now. Realize that God is still with you now. Realize that you are healthy now. Realize that you're living now. Realize that you have the God-given authority now. Realize that your time to worship is now.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I constantly worry about the future. Like I'm always overthinking about it. I mean, I feel like I've grown out of it. I'm finally like, okay, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
And that's a good way to think, because really the future is not, you don't know if you're going to reach the future.
Yeah.
You don't. The best thing you could do is focus on right now.
Right now.
You're here spreading a message with me right now.
Mm-hmm.
How can we impact these listeners if we haven't already? Focus on right now. Did we have notes? We had a couple notes, but I haven't really been reading them.
I feel like you've gone.
Yeah, we've kind of gone all over the place.
Like a roller coaster.
But like a roller coaster, like the life roller coaster. But you just have to. It really has to do with how much we are willing to follow what God has in store for us, and we also with how much we are willing to let go of what's holding us, or not what's holding us, but what we are holding. Because we have to remember, we gotta take a little bit of responsibility, Nux.
No, I understand.
We tend to hold on to so many things that just don't benefit us.
But sometimes we don't notice it. Like
We
we don't notice until someone points it out and be like, "Hey."
And
like,
even still, don't hit me with that, because
no,
even still,
I'm not pointing at you, but I meant like this has happened to me, where it's like they're like, "You've been holding this on this whole time," and I'm like, I didn't even notice. Like it's in the back of your mind that you do different things, you overthink things.
I didn't notice. Who knows who got touched by this message today? Like I didn't notice that I was holding on to this until they kind of like mentioned it on that podcast. I didn't notice that I was holding on to suicidal thoughts until they mentioned it. I didn't know I was holding on to my past until they mentioned it. It's like sometimes you just have to hear it from people that you won't expect it from.
Yeah.
Like, or sometimes you have to. I know people say don't look back in the past. Sometimes when you go back and you're just like, oh.
I feel like every once in a while you have to.
Yeah.
Like that's up. Like sometimes you have to think about everything in the past.
Yeah, sometimes you have to think.
In order to move forward.
Sometimes that's what helps you move forward, and that's what helps you with deliverance. Right? So that was God's second promise, deliverance. And I'm glad to have had you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Of
course. Yeah, if anybody out there is going through something, and this episode has really touched your heart, just feel free to just worship God right where you are. Pray and just say thank you. Like the best thing to say is thank you. Sometimes you just gotta just stop and just say, thank you. Thank you for you being alive. Thank you for, me having food on my table. Just look at what you have now.
Yeah.
Stop focusing on everything that's that you don't have. Like in Egypt, they didn't have the fish anymore. They didn't have the meat anymore. They didn't have the chicken anymore. Whatever they ate back then. They didn't have the great feast, but they weren't focusing on the fact that they were free.
Yeah.
They were free. They were free and they weren't focused. And Moses was just there like, okay, listen here. I'm getting sick and tired of this. He even told God, you know what? Choose someone else, man. Like, they're not getting it. Like, and you know what? Like, I've had that too. I'm like, okay, they're not getting it. They're not getting it. What do I do? Sometimes you have to go through the desert. Go through the desert just like they did, because the time that it took them to actually reach the promised land, they were just in reality, they were just going in circles because they wouldn't let go of the fact that they weren't in Egypt anymore. They wouldn't accept that they were free. And sometimes that's what we need to do. We need to start accepting that we are free. We need to start accepting that that's not, the past is the past and the future is not promised. And, well, the only thing you got to worry about is the present. The only thing you got to worry about is the today. So just worry about today and let us see what God brings us tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So that was the God's Promises, episode 2. Stay safe, stay blessed. We love you all. And remember, you all have strength from above.
Yes, sir.
Good job.
Hey, I've been on a high note, running on a scale so major.